Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's April 18th. These are your headlines. Hearing about the first big stripers piling up at the herring runs this week. Also hearing about tog action spreading out throughout Long Island Sound. And lots of big lake trout coming out of Wachusett Reservoir this week. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The all-new Yamaha V6 Offshore F350. It's a featherweight knockout, the lightest 350 horsepower outboard on the water, exhilarating boating and incredible control in a powerfully light design. The Yamaha V6 Offshore F350.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. The first one comes to us from No Live Bait Needed. They've got a limited edition color coming out this week. I got it here. And it's perfectly timed. This is their river herring color. And, you know, again, it couldn't be more perfectly timed. Over these last 2 weeks, really since that last new moon, right around the eclipse, we've been seeing lots of herring moving into the runs, and even seeing a few fish up into the 30-pound class coming out of some of these runs. Here's a picture of Rowan with a good one that he got earlier this week, probably 5 days ago or so. I don't know if you guys know this, but No Live Bait Needed, just about every 2 weeks they put out a new limited batch color, and the best way to stay up to date on all these releases is by joining their VIP list. You can do that on their website. That's NLBN.com. But in either case, you got to get the river herring. I mean, right now it's prime time for river herring, and you're going to get those on Friday night at 8 p.m. That's when the drop is going to be, and I think you're going to have to be quick because this is a great color. I mean, the thing looks just like a river herring. And the thing that I love about these baits, a few things. First of all, they catch fish, which is really the most important thing. But I really like them because of their durability. Their rigging system with that corkscrew jig head makes them extremely durable, and if you do what I did right here, you can see you got this little zip tie right around the bend of the hook. That makes these things last practically forever. I rigged one up in November, and I can't even tell you, dozens, if not maybe 100 fish I've caught on it, still going strong. I mean, it's torn up, shredded up, but things still swimming, still catching fish, and I don't need it to look good. I just need it to catch good, and it's doing that. So once again, just check their website, nlbn.com, on Friday night at 8 p.m. You can get yourself some of these river herring baits, and you can also look at all the other stuff that they offer. They've got some fantastic baits on there, and they're made by two guys who are hardcore fishermen. You always love to see that. Next thing, we want to honor a New England original, and that is Al Gags. Was recently inducted into the Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame. Here's a little tribute to him.
Recently at the Connecticut Fishing and Outdoor Expo, Al Gagliarducci, aka Al Gags, was inducted into the International Freshwater Hall of Fame. Al's been designing and manufacturing lures since 1978. An emotional large crowd was on hand to watch Al receive this honor.
It's my pleasure to present to you this honored plaque. The museum in Hayward, Wisconsin is the Hall of Fame shrine for inductees, and Al's memories and spirit will live on for decades to come. Inducted 2024, Albert Gagliarducci for outstanding achievement in the realm of freshwater sport fishing.
Congratulations to my good friend Al Gagliarducci, aka Al Gags, for being inducted into the International Freshwater Hall of Fame. Congratulations, buddy.
Another thing I wanted to talk about this week is that the Coastal Kayak Clash is back after a year off. What we refer to as the CKC is open to all subscribers. It's free to enter. All you have to do is register on the website. And it's a multi-species catch photo release kayak tournament. We're going to be giving away a Old Town PDL 120, all decked out with Yak Attack gear. You know, pretty much everything that they offer at this point. We're also going to be giving away a Helix 7 Humminbird, and we're going to be giving away some cash, we're going to give away some reels, and giving away a bunch of lures. It's going to be a great thing. It lasts all season. It starts May 1st, so sign up as soon as you can. Starts May 1st, goes all the way through November 30th. Covers 8 different species. You've got striped bass, bluefish, you've got scup, you've got hardtails, you've got fluke, you've got sea bass, you've got weakfish. What am I forgetting? Weakfish and tog. phenomenal tournament. A lot of great anglers, and you can tell it's just a great time. So make sure you sign up, get those kayaks in the water, and who knows, you might win something awesome. Next thing, in Rhode Island, if you're out there trout fishing for these next couple weeks, this is going to end on May 6th, but they do like a special thing in the early spring here, right after opening day. Anyone who catches a golden trout, if you take a picture like this one of Todd Traylon's, and you send it into the email address we're going to put here on the screen, you will get a special limited edition golden trout pin from the state. There's a limit of 1 per angler, so don't go out there and try to catch every golden trout in the pond. But if you get one, take your phone out, snap a nice pic, send it in, and you're going to get yourself a golden pin, which is pretty cool. And while we're in the state of Rhode Island, we also have to talk about the fact that we got a few new regs out this week. We finally got the finalized regulations for fluke. The season actually opened back on April 1st, not that anyone's catching fluke right now. But we've got 6 fish at 19 inches, and they last the whole season. It goes all the way out till the end of December. So it's open season from here on out. 6 fish at 19 inches, I can say that once again. And then on the scup end of things, they decided to go up a ½ inch and kind of join Connecticut and New York. So up to 11 inches, still 30 fish per angler. You still get that little bonus season if you go on a charter boat in the fall from September 1st to Halloween. You can keep 40 fish. And really, that's all I wanted to say about that. And the last thing, of course, is the giveaway, which is ongoing, and we're starting to see some good photos coming in now. In fact, I got one this week that I think could be the winner. Just a really nice photo, but it's not a definite winner, and you still got a week to win this Connecticut Yankee dual action swimmer that I made. Pretty cool plug, and like I said, you got 1 more week. It's going to wrap up on the 24th of April. So email those photos in to me at danderson@thefisherman.com or text them to the number on the screen. And just remember, it's got to be a recently caught fish. It's got to show you and the fish in the picture. Can't be laying in the grass. And other than that, the other thing has to be recently caught. Other than that, it doesn't really matter to me. It could have been caught on your vacation, could have been caught in your backyard, could have been caught down the street, whatever. But get them in, and we'll see who wins. Moving over to the reports now, getting a lot more reports from the freshwater ponds and lakes of Maine. Seeing a lot more largemouth bass coming out of there, and some really nice fish being caught up there. So that bite seems to be, quickly, going to a roaring inferno up there. Just really good fishing. A lot of guys doing it on swim baits, but they're doing it all different ways, from Ned rigs and jigs all the way up to the biggest stuff you can throw. So that's good news. Crossing down over the border into Massachusetts, we'll start things off with James Jewkes.
Morning, everyone. Another spectacular sunrise here up on the North Shore of Boston. Just amazing, huh? Whew. Look at that. Surf is down. The sun is shining. Crisp air, warming up. I'll tell you, if you can't love this, I don't know what you not love about it. But I can say the fishing has been pretty freaking good over the weekend, even though the high water was up and everything. Tons of guys catching. Lots of freshwater stuff going on. No salt water yet. Plenty of pike, smallmouth, largemouth, yellow perch, crappie. You name it, guys, we're getting it. And not just in the river either. Make sure you guys all check your local ponds out, because those places have been really producing as well. Myself, I was out Saturday morning with the juniors program for the Plum Island Surfcasters, and we had a great time. Didn't catch as many as we'd like, but we got some of the little ones on some largemouth bass and pickerel, which is always fun. Well, as far as the saltwater is concerned, we don't have any fish up here yet. And holdover reports have gotten a little bit better, that's for sure. So some fish have been caught. I did stop at my local herring runs, and those fish are in. I was there yesterday morning, in fact, and those herring were really starting to push in. So it won't be long now before we get our first shad report. That's always fun. And hot on their tails is always a striped bass. So Another significant thing is we are into sunrises before 6 o'clock in the morning and well after 7 o'clock sunsets. So our days are longer, our nights are shorter, and that's when the fun starts for sure. This next moon period is going to be pretty exciting. I think that's going to drive the fish right up the coast. I have buddies all over the place who cut a lot of stripers down south, so everybody's itching to get their first reports in. But all in all, fishing's been spectacular. Get out there and get it done, Dave.
Inland Massachusetts, there's been like one really major thing that just keeps on happening week after week. Ever since they opened Wachusett, there seem to be a lot of big lake trout close to shore. The biggest one that I've heard of was the one we highlighted last week. I'll put the picture up here on the screen again. Depending on whose report you read, it's either 38 or 39 inches. That's a big, big fish. But we've heard of many others in the like 7 to 12 pound class, even up to 15 pounds. Being caught all different ways. Guys are getting them on shiners. Guys are getting them on, I heard of one caught on a jig and pig intended for smallmouth. Guys are getting them on jerk baits. These fish are all up shallow, which is unusual. I fished Wachusett extensively for many, many years. And man, I've never heard of a start like this. It's almost got me wanting to go home and see Mom for a night and get up real early and see what I can get down there. But I want to make sure I highlighted that. Kind of swooping back down toward the Cape now. The trout fishing out there has also been really good. And I was looking at the stocking reports, and I always get excited when I see them highlighting the fact that they're stocking brown trout, because this is the time of year when they start putting in those big broodstock browns. Some of those fish can be really impressive. In fact, one of our readers sent in a few pictures of two that he caught. These are actually out way on Western Mass. He wouldn't say what pond, but it was, one was 6 pounds, one was 7.36 pounds. And if you look at this photo here, it's, you know, it's got his two big trout with a 15-inch rainbow for scale, and you know, I think they were 24 and 26 inches respectively. And man, if that trout was just, that rainbow was just a little bit smaller, I think that bigger one could have eaten it. That's those are some impressive fish, and that's the caliber of fish that Massachusetts stocks at this time of the year. So you may want to get out there and you know, do a little snooping around. These fish really like brightly colored jerk baits. That really tends to do it for them. You know, fire tiger, bright orange, bright yellow, bright gold, white, anything that really stands out. They're very reactive, and they will lash out at it. And boy, those are some big fish, and they put up a big fight. Other thing that's going on the Cape is a lot of largemouth bass fishing. It seems like it really flared up this week. A lot of nice fish came out. I saw some good ones from Dan Southwick. Saw some good ones from various other people. Just lots of guys doing it day and night. It looks like that largemouth bass bite on the Cape is really on fire right now. On the saltwater end of things, you got a few guys heading out towards Stellwagen, doing some haddock fishing. Not a whole lot of other saltwater stuff. A few small tog in the canal. But one thing I do have is our first canal report from East End Eddie. So here he is.
Hi Dave, it's nice to be back here on the world famous Cape Cod Canal this morning. This is day one for me. I took my first cast this morning, and it's just beautiful listening to that line come off the spool and seeing the first splash down of a lure in the canal. So that was great, and looking forward to some good things this year. So we've got a west dropping tide behind us. There's nothing really going on yet. It's still early. We've got scouts coming in from Buzzards Bay and schoolies and some small tautog in the canal. But that could all change any minute. Last year, well, May 7th used to be the magic date for the canal when you had fish coming in, good striped bass. But you know, last year, the first 2 weeks of May, it really lit up. And so that could, with global warming, maybe that'll happen in April this year. So just stay tuned, and we'll have to see what happens. I just got back from Disney World. My wife and I took our 5 grandchildren and their families to Disney World. They had a great time. Kids loved it. I'll be broke by next week, but that's okay. And it's nice to be back in the canal. Just a few announcements. Red Top had their sale in March, but I was speaking with Tom Coots the other day, and he told me that they're going to be having their own surf rods this year for sale, and a lot of input went into the manufacture of these rods from their experienced staff. AJ, Ian, Connor, they all contributed to what they know about the canal, which is enormous. They're all experienced canal rats. And Ian handed me one of the rods. It's all black. It's a nice balance, a nice action. It has a uva grip with the nice area for your fingers, the swirl. And so Tom said that they'll be a little bit below market price. So they should be for sale any day now. And over in at Mako's, Larry told me that Jeff Hopwood will be having a sale April 26th through 28th. And at Canal Bait and Tackle, I was talking to Bruce Miller the other day, and Bruce's sale started last week and it ends today, April 18th. But he's got 20% off all their lures as well as terminal tackle. And so stop by one of these tackle shops. They're staffed with experienced fishermen who can help a novice get you outfitted, and or even an experienced fisherman, you can pick up valuable fishing reports there. And the other thing I want to tell you is that the men's room and ladies' rooms don't open until this Saturday, the 20th. But even when they open, you know, they're not open until 8 or 8:30 in the morning. So if you get here at 3 a.m. like I do, make sure you just sip your water. So that's pretty much it from here. My tip of the week would be just make sure that you have your equipment ready. Make sure you've done any repairs, fine-tune things if you haven't yet, and make sure your reel has been serviced. And so until next week, be careful, stay safe, and watch out for that rip-rap stone bank.
And as East End Eddie said, you know, things are still on the slow side striper-wise. I looked at the water temps in Woods Hole. They were 48 degrees today. But then I looked at the extended forecast on just the regular weather, and it looks like every day is 55 to 65 degrees for the next 2 weeks. Don't have really any cold nights to look at up in there. A couple little storms coming through now and then. But I think, you know, maybe even by this time next week, we may see 50, 51 degrees out in Woods Hole, and that will signal the beginning of a lot of good things. It's definitely going to bring the tog in, but it may also bring the striped bass in. And you know, if last year can be any kind of an indicator, things can happen really fast. So you want to keep your eye on the canal right now. To wrap things up in Massachusetts, we're going to fly out west into the western part of the state and check in quick with Roy Leyve.
What's up, Dave? Roy Leyve here from Western Mass. I'm going to keep it short and simple. Water is still high, as you can see behind me. Still pretty chocolate. So if you're planning on coming out and fishing any of the rivers, I'd probably give it a few more days, maybe by the end of the weekend. Unfortunately, that's what we're looking at. But you know, if you're in the game for trout, man, the state has continued to do a phenomenal job, as they normally do. So you know, I would go out and try that. They've been stocking a lot of browns, brookies, rainbows, and tigers, and some of those fish are trophy size. So you know, if that's not your game, you know, Wachusett Reservoir is another one. The Lakers there, you know, I mean, from reports that I've seen, I haven't been out there, but reports that I've seen, place is on fire. As well as smallmouth bass are starting to wake up, so that's always a plus, you know. And Wachusett is just a game for everything, right? They've got it all. But Quabbin's the other one that's going to be opening up soon, so you know, keep your ears out for that, and you know, make some plans and come out to Quabbin and fish. But other than that, man, if I had to pick a thing that's going to be a sure thing this week coming up, you know, it'd be trout. So you know, unless these rivers start going down real quick and clear up, and that's going to be your best bet. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.
And last but not least, in Massachusetts, we're going to get a little shad report from Steve Reigles from Steve's UV Leaves.
The story of the day is a slow start. The Connecticut River started producing some fish, and then it rained, it blew up the river. The Maine River has become muddy and high. It's pretty much unfishable. There was a fish caught in the Cromwell area before all that started. The story is the bite in the tributaries. The tributaries below the Connecticut border have been steadily producing fish, and now within the last 4 or 5 days, the Massachusetts tributaries are starting to produce shad. The bite has been pretty much early morning or late in the afternoon, with mostly bucks and a few roes mixed in there. After the water clears up, I mean, we got a little more rain coming in, and then the water clears up, the Maine River should turn on. I mean, we know there's fish there. It's just getting to them. It's a whole different story right now. So get out there and catch some fish. I'll see you guys soon.
Jumping over into Rhode Island now, let's start things off with an East Bay report from TJ Kopecky.
Thanks, Steve. Hey guys, lots going on here in the East Bay, southeastern Massachusetts, lots to talk about. Let's get right into it. We're going to start in southeastern Massachusetts, most of the local ponds, the Upper Warren Reservoir, Milford Pond, Swansea, we got everything, out towards the Cape even. Everything's heated up. The fish are pretty much activated. I believe they're on a pre-spawn, so they're just pretty much rearing up to do their thing. And let me tell you, they're not shy of feeding. The bass bite has been unbelievable. The perch, white perch, even the pickerel are. Everybody's eating right now. It's a good time. Obviously, the nice 70-degree weather we've had has pretty much sparked up all that, and I got to tell you, getting into the East Bay, I guess my analogy would be if you fished at Melville Pond on open day and you live in the East Bay, it would pretty much be like going to the 4th of July parade and setting up your chair. But people were there at midnight setting up chairs just to get a spot there. And I got to tell you, I fished there myself. It was a great pond. We caught a lot of fish. A lot of goldens were caught. And don't forget about your pin on that. And other than that, I didn't hear any other reports from guys fishing in Stafford Pond and Tiverton or fishing in Barrington. I did hear some reports, and this is getting into the saltwater section of the East Bay, that tautog have shown up. And if you look at the median water temperature in the bay, today when you're seeing this video on Thursday, the water's been inside of the bay, the warmest being in East Greenwich, which has got up to 49 degrees already, and the coldest being out at Watch Hill, which has been about 45. So if you're in the bay and you're tautog fishing, you stay in the bay. Don't get outside of the bay. The fish are bound to be inside of there, and I did see reports of fish being caught around the bridge pilings, inside the Warren River, inside the Barrington River. Get on the bridges, go to Lucky Bait, get yourself some crabs, maybe try some worms. Those are working too. Some sandworms. The mounts right now are a little soft, so they might like a softer bait. Even a clam belly might even work for you. And it might actually even catch you a striped bass. The striped bass are going to be moving in any time now. I haven't seen anybody catching them inside of the East Bay, Warren, Barrington Rivers, up into Bullock's Point in East Providence. But I gotta say, any day now. This weekend I'm going to get out and I'm going to try and do some tautog fishing behind the American Tourista, which is another staple spot in Warren. Best times to fish that would be probably like 2 hours before high tide and about an hour and a half to 2 hours after. It's very tide specific because dropping down off the wall there, the water's shallow. On the high tides it's about 7-8 feet. And I'm going to presume that the fish are pretty much hanging on the walls, feeding on all the crustaceans, crabs, whatever they can get. Don't be alarmed that there's tons of oyster toadfish there. Even if you don't catch a tautog, you might even hook into one. But it's still fun to catch, by all means. And I think things going forward are just going to be even better. The temperatures look so 60s. It's going to heat up the water. Got some warm rain coming. by the end of the week into maybe on Saturday morning. But after that, the weather still looks good. So get out there and fish in the East Bay or anywhere southeastern Mass here. I think you're going to do well. Until next week, we'll catch you guys. Tight lines.
One thing that I have seen in Rhode Island this week, which is, you know, very similar to what we're seeing out on the Cape and stuff like that, is the largemouth bass bite has been on fire. Jeff Sullivan had another banner week with a couple of real big fish, and he's going to talk a little bit more about that in his video, so let's check it out now.
What's up, Dave? Hey, everybody. Just checking back in this week with another little short video. I'm going to give you a little update on what's going on out there in the freshwater world as far as largemouth, because that's what I've been doing around the clock. So I have two little lures right here that have been absolutely crushing it, plus some spinner baits. But the spinner baits I've been using are all bent out of shape and broken as of right now, so I can't really show you those. But these two swim baits I have in my hand are killer right now. I've been pretty much fishing around the clock. I haven't really got much sleep. But yeah, so the NLBN 3-inch shads here, I've been absolutely smashing them. So this is a 3-inch Hell Yeah butter on a 1/8 jig head. I usually use 1/8 or 3/8 depending on how deep they are and what I need to do to get them to react. But these aren't made to slow roll. These are to speed. These are for speed. So they have that little tail in the back, that fast action tail. It's made to really rip through that grass and to rip along those reeds really fast. So largemouth have they're opportunistic feeders. So at this time of year, you know, sometimes if you go slow, then they have a lot of time to think about it. But if you burn it by them, it's either they're going to eat it or they don't. So they have a choice. So it really makes them react to it. So yeah, I mean, I went out last night, got some hammers. I'm out right now. You know, it's nice weather, a little bit of a southeast breeze. Last time I had a southeast breeze was really good, so fingers crossed. Let's see what's happening. But yeah, other than that, Dave, I've just been largemouth fishing. I've been doing some perch fishing too, some yellow perch fishing, because the yellow perch tell me what the largemouth's doing sometimes in different ponds. But I've been bringing my little Jig and World Optimus ultralight out, having some fun with some perch too, and some micro largemouth and some smaller ponds, which is a blast too. I always do that this time of year just to get a tug sometimes, you know, leave the giants alone for a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna go pick on some bigs today, see what they can do, see what I can do. But yeah, it's beautiful weather, guys. Get out there, like I said, throw these NLBN shads around. I like the 1/8, but 3/8 is great too. But yeah, they're chewing them. All right, thanks, Dave.
Another thing that's happened that's pretty cool is we've seen another second week in a row now, we're seeing really good cod fishing around Newport, Jamestown, and then kind of leaking over toward Narragansett. These fish are inshore. Guys are getting them in kayaks. A few guys have put their boats in now are getting in on the action as well. You know, most of these fish are in the 20 to 30 inch class, and you know, the average fish is probably right in the middle of those sizes. But you know, there's a lot of keeper fish in there, and it's a unique fishery that we don't see every year, so that's a cool thing. And now with water temps in Newport hovering 50-51, we're going to start seeing more bass coming in along the corners of the beaches in Newport, and we're also going to see more togs starting to join those codfish. So you're going to have mixed bag opportunities all around the Rhode Island shoreline right now. You don't have to go up in the bay to find the tog anymore. They're going to start showing up more and more along the ocean front, and we're just going to see more and more striped bass. Have seen a few big fish coming out of the herring runs too, larger striped bass. And that's only going to get better as more of these fresh fish join the holdovers. Things can get pretty crazy. So we've got a lot to look forward to in that regard. And now let's take a minute to check in quickly with Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, John Lee, JL Charters. I'm out here on Block Island Sound on the pilot boat. We're heading out to a ship that's left New Haven. And on the way out, I marked some nice blobs of bait down, kind of mid-column, 40 feet down. We're in 100 feet of water here. Not really seeing much. I have seen some gannets, and yes, a couple of days ago I saw gannets plunge diving. Not sure what they were on. Maybe there's some mackerel around. I don't really have much to report. One of the guys that works in the pilot boat, he went out today for blackfish and codfish with crabs anchored up. You got nothing. So it's still kind of early around the Point Jude area. It sounds like, talking to my commercial friends, that the sea bass and the fluke are still kind of out 40 fathoms. So they're starting to move in, but they're still south of block by quite a ways. That's all I got. I'm still fiberglassing. Haven't really thought much about fishing. You know, I come out on the pilot boat and it gets my brain thinking about fish, you know, looking around. I haven't seen any terns yet. I haven't seen any hooded gulls yet, but they're going to be here any day now. There's bait coming up. All those birds will be behind the bait. Take care. See you next time.
The only consistent bass fishing I'm hearing about in Rhode Island right now is coming from either the salt ponds or up inside the Pawcatuck River. Few fish trickling along the beaches right now, and with water temps crossing over the 50-degree mark, I think we're going to see a lot more. In fact, the west wall should probably have some fish by this time next week would be my guess. Once we get a few sustained days of good southwest wind, we should see fish there, and that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Actually, let's do one more thing in Rhode Island. Forgot to talk about the trout fishing. Trout fishing in Rhode Island has been exceptionally good. All the guys I talked to who went out on opening day were thrilled with their results. A lot of nice sized fish, tons of those golden trout, which you can send in the pictures for a gold pin. And that has continued since. I mean, it always does, but I mean, the trout fishing has just been exceptionally good, even better than normal in Rhode Island. So it's definitely a good time to get out there and try to bend the rod on some trout. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. A lot of the fishing going on in Connecticut right now has been centered around the Connecticut River. A lot of different species being caught in the Connecticut River right now. I've seen striped bass up to 20 pounds. We've seen some absolute tanker smallmouth up in the tributaries. And we're starting to see more blackfish moving into that area now. From like the Connecticut River out to Niantic, we're seeing a lot more fish. Seeing some decent sized fish too. I know Matt Stone had a good one this week. Looking like it was maybe 6 pounds or so from the kayak. Also seeing schoolie stripers that are now aggressively hitting topwater. So there's a lot of stuff changing, a lot of good things happening inside Long Island Sound right now. Also was talking to Mikey D'Alfonso again, and he had a banner day on the winter flounder in an Eastern Sound tributary. With he had more than his limit of keeper size flounder, and that's a surprising thing, but also highlights the fact that more guys should be out there doing it, because the bite has been good and it's getting better and better. For a little bit more on things happening in the central part, in the Connecticut River region, let's start things off with a report from Captain Mike Roy from Real Cash Charters.
Hey, what's up everybody? Just got done installing my new Minn Kota Instinct Quest trolling motor on the Conch 27, so I'm looking forward to using that soon. The fishing last week improved quite a bit. We have water temperatures into the low 50-degree range now. The striper bite has improved. The fish are starting to bite better. They're still hitting mostly small soft plastics like the 5 3/4 inch finesse fish and the 7-inch sluggo. That's been outproducing everything else. But as the temperatures start to warm, I expect to see the stripers start to move and bite a little bit more aggressively. I have some openings next week, so if you're interested, feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Now let's head up the river and check in with Rowan Lytle.
Hey everybody. So with a warm start to the week and now kind of a chilly end, it looks like, with some rain in the mix, the Connecticut River has been dropping from the flood stage it was at. It's plummeting pretty quick. Still very high, still very, very muddy. So the main stem of the river is kind of off the table for most fishing, at least for the foreseeable future. It'll probably drop to good levels within the next week and a half, give or take. I expect it to stay stained. It's kind of been doing that consistently, and I would expect it to be that way basically anytime we get a rain for a while, because there's lots of silt piling up in the floodplain, and anytime it rains that washes in. So the river's probably going to stay murky for quite a while. That said, It's warmed up quite substantially. There's water temps up even into the 60s in some parts of it. Those will cool down a little bit, but it's definitely kind of in the sweet spot for a lot of species to bite. So wherever you can find clean water, expect just about everything to be on the chew. I've been getting some fantastic big smallmouth. The carp fishing has been phenomenal, and got a client on the first bowfin of the year earlier this week. So things are definitely looking good, looking more spring-like, and that's good to see. In all the tributaries that have, a TMA or a good trout fishery, expect some hatches to be kicking off. Those have dropped to a pretty reasonable level, and the water temperatures are getting up to where the bugs are pretty active. So it's dry fly time on the TMAs. But fishing should be good over the next couple weeks, other than that main stem of the river, of course.
Now we'll head out down toward the mouth, and we'll check in quickly with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
What's up, everyone? Matt here at Black Hall Outfitters with this week's fishing report. Locally, tog is starting to pick up in the Central Sound. I was able to get out and get one yesterday. It was one in 2.5 hours, but it was one. So that bite should steadily pick up kind of towards the end of April, which is unfortunately when our Connecticut season ends. But if you can get a good day, these last couple weeks of April can be really fun tog fishing. We've got crabs at BHO Westbrook if you need them. Locally, stripers are still kind of picking up. They're still kind of hanging out in those tidal creeks, those holdover areas. They're going to get a little more active. I was able to get a few to whack a topwater small spook yesterday, which is always fun for the first time of the year. And that should just keep getting better. Some of those fish will kind of get a little more active. They might school up a little more and surface feed as the warmer nights continue to kind of heat up that water temperature in those back creeks. Freshwater has been good. We've had great weather, so that bite is going to keep getting better and kind of going into that like pre-spawn spawn kind of time. Spinner baits, jigs, crankbaits, small soft plastics like a Kitech, things like that will always work. Trout has been great, kind of all the same stuff you've been using all year. That water is going to get a little bit warmer as, again, these warmer nights keep warming up the water. And, all things trending in the right direction towards great spring fishing.
The western half of the Sound is definitely the more active half of the Sound. We're seeing, especially further west, we're seeing some good-sized striped bass up to 20 pounds out in the Sound, taking mojos, taking trolled umbrellas, taking probably some guys getting them on flutter spoons. And then up inside the rivers, like the Housatonic, the bite's been really good. Soft plastics with paddle tails, there's herring moving in. We're seeing fish up to the 30-pound class in there as well. And for a little bit more on all that, let's check in now with Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
Hey everyone, Max here from Fisherman's World with another local fishing report. Yesterday I got out down west with my wife. We trolled some mojos and found some bass. We were in that 40 to 50 foot range, and we saw a lot of bait balls. So it is starting in the Western Sound. We still, there's still bass entering the lower bay of New York and run up the Hudson to spawn, but things are heating up. Locally around our rivers, around the islands, our harbors, there's still a lot of nice fish around. I would say in that schoolie to slot size range. We've seen some fish pushing 40 inches up in the local herring runs. The herring are filling in, so if you want to, get on this bite, I would check your local tidal rivers on the higher incoming tides. We've seen some blackfish caught this past week around the Norwalk Islands. A lot of the action's coming from the east, New Haven walls, the Bridgeport walls. We're not carrying crabs, but we do have sandworms, clams, they work well. And then our local trout rivers are also fishing well. Saugatuck opened this past Saturday. We've seen a lot of smallmouth bass, so that was cool. And then we saw some decent walleye, no real big trout. We saw them up to like 4 pounds. But the Saugatuck River, Norwalk River, Maine is fishing very well. Thanks and good luck.
And that's what I have for you guys in the reports this week. Hopefully it's going to inspire you to get out there. We've had beautiful weather all week. Tuesday this week practically felt like summer. I was out in shorts doing some work on my garage until dark in shorts. Couldn't be happier. And the fishing's been phenomenal. Great largemouth bass fishing right now. We're seeing all those big lake trout up in Wachusett, and we're just seeing a rapid influx of striped bass. Things are happening, and they're really going to catch fire soon. If you're not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware up to Maine, and we cover every angling discipline you can think of in there, whether it's freshwater, saltwater, offshore, inshore. It's all covered. And it's $29.95 for a year. You're going to get 12 magazines sent to your house. You're going to get 26 digital magazines sent to your email. You get access to all the back issues, and you get digital access to our other 2 editions, of which we have 3. So we have the New England edition, which is the one that I work for. We have the Long Island edition, and we have the New Jersey Delaware edition. So after you check that out, if you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe, because you're also going to get a $20 gift card to SureHold just for signing up. At the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing down there so you get a notification every time we post something new. Appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.